I've been a retirement planner for a long time. And one of the things I absolutely love is hearing the concerns that folks have for their retirement and being able to provide solutions for those concerns. And one of the main concerns I've heard over the years, over the last decade of planning retirement for folks, is how they're going to pay for their care in retirement. Now, when I say care, there's actually two types of care. And it might be actually your biggest financial concern. What are the types of care I'm talking about? The first one is health care. You know, I read a pretty interesting article not so long ago regarding health care. And here's what it said. It said that if you're married and you're a 65-year-old couple and you're healthy, so you're married, 65 years old and healthy, that they're estimating it's going to cost you as a married couple $289,000 to cover the cost of your health care for the rest of your life, above and beyond what Medicare is going to cover for you. Is that a lot of money to you? It's a lot of money to me. Now, in terms of health care, at least most folks, maybe you included, we have a federal program called Medicare that can help cover those costs. We also have some tools out there called Medicare supplements that can help cover that $289,000. Now, I don't know about you, but when most people think of the Medicare world, it's like trying to understand Greek. They don't know if they need the F plan, the G plan, the N plan. Do they get the Advantage plan? How does it work with Social Security? How does Part D work? When do I sign up? How does it work with all of these other pensions and things I have? So if you have questions around your Medicare and Medicare planning, we would love to help you with that. But at least we've got a federal program to help us with our health care. So what we're finding today as a retirement planning firm is that the bigger crisis for folks in terms of their retirement is not covering their health care cost, it's covering that second type of cost. And what did we say that was? We said long-term care. Now, when I say the words long-term care, you might be thinking to yourself, nursing home. Long-term care, though, is not just a nursing home. Long-term care is any care you need for a long period of time. It could be what we call in-home care, where someone comes in, takes care of you, runs some errands, cooks some meals. That can be long-term care. It could be where you go someplace during the day, but you come back home in the evening. They actually call that adult daycare. It could be that. It could be all of the assisted living places that you're seeing pop up all over the Metroplex right now. Those can be long-term care. So when I tell you and talk to you today about long-term care, I don't just mean a nursing home. There's actually 5 different ways that you could pay for your long-term care cost. Let's start with the first one. So the first way that you could cover your long-term care cost is you could do something that we call self-insure. Now, what is self-insure? It's a really fancy way of saying write a check. Take a guess real quick what you think a 1-year stay in a nursing home in Dallas-Fort Worth cost last year. It was almost $80,000 per year. Now, men, hey, we typically stay in a nursing home somewhere between 2.5 to 3 years. Women, you do better than us at most everything. You're in a nursing home typically 3.5 to 4 years. So if you want to know how much you just might need to write a check for, just take $80,000 and multiply it by 2, 3, or 4, inflate it by 6% a year, and that's how much you just might need to write a check for. Now, that just might not be possible based on your financial circumstances. And if it is possible, it may not be the best use of your dollar. So what we're finding is most people are not choosing to self-insure today. The second way you could cover the cost for your long-term care is you could set up certain types of trusts to cover your long-term care. Now, all a trust is basically this legal document that you put some assets into, and later on when you need care, that trust will pay out to take care of you. Some folks like option 2. The third way that you could pay for your long-term care is utilizing a financial tool that I bet you already own. What's that financial tool? It's actually called an annuity. Now, I don't know why annuities have all of a sudden kind of become this hot topic. Here's what an annuity is by its most simple definition. All an annuity is a guaranteed paycheck for the rest of your life. That's it. So if you have or will have Social Security, if you have or will have a pension, congratulations, you own an annuity. Some folks don't have enough income from those two sources. So what do? They give some of their money to an insurance company. The insurance company guarantees them a paycheck for the rest of their life. Some people use that paycheck to pay for their long-term care expenses. Some folks like number 3. Now, the fourth way you could cover this long-term care cost is insurance that I bet you probably have heard of and have probably researched even a little bit. And it's called long-term care insurance. Okay. Now, in terms of long-term care insurance, what we're finding today is that it can be a little bit hard to sometimes qualify for that. Imagine you're getting ready to plan your retirement. You've said to yourself, when I retire, I'm going to look to get some long-term care insurance to help me with these costs. And then all of a sudden your health changes and you don't qualify any longer. And now you're sitting there saying to yourself, what do I do? So long-term care insurance, there can be a barrier of entry to qualify for it. The other issue we're finding today with traditional long-term care insurance is that if most people have it, typically they're seeing the cost or the premium increase for the cost of their care. And so it's becoming unaffordable for a lot of people to pay for their long-term care with long-term care insurance in a traditional sense. So luckily, there is a fifth and final way to pay for your long-term care, and that's utilizing something called life insurance with an ADB, okay? Life insurance. Most people don't know what life insurance with an ADB is, so let me explain that to you. Here's the first thing I want you to understand about life insurance. All the money's tax-free. So let's say I've got a life insurance policy on me, and let's say it's for $100,000. And my wife, Angela, is my beneficiary. She's the one that's going to inherit that money when I die. So let's say I die. Angela's going to inherit the $100,000 tax-free, typically within 10 to 14 business days. That $100,000 she inherits is called the death benefit, and that's what the DB stands for. Now, on certain types of life insurance policies, if I qualify to need that $100,000 for my long-term care while I'm alive, the insurance company will actually give me the $100,000 to use for my care, tax-free. And then whatever's left when I pass away still pays Angela that death benefit. So let me give you a quick example. Let's say I had that policy and I needed $50,000 out of the 100 for my long-term care expenses. So I use it. Then I pass away. How much is left? That's right, $50,000. When I pass away, that 50 remaining still goes to Angela as the death benefit. So folks are really starting to like life insurance with an ADB. How come? Because it's the one thing you're going to pay for, one thing I'm going to pay for, that we absolutely know someone's going to get the benefit of. Unlike traditional long-term care insurance where you pay all this money toward it and you never need long-term care, what happens to all the money you put toward traditional long-term care insurance? It's gone. So when you're evaluating how to pay for your long-term care, we have 5 options up there. I am not suggesting that you need to run right out and go get the life insurance with an ADB or set up a trust. Here's what I am suggesting. You need to have a plan to cover the cost of this care. Because if you don't get one, unlike your Medicare for your health care, the federal government doesn't have a plan for your long-term care. This cost is at your doorstep. So give us a call. We would love to help you figure out the plan to cover the cost of your care. It's the responsible thing to do. It's the way that you ensure you're not a burden to your family. I look forward to you checking out our next video.